Hey guys, Steve Gutowski here at SHOT Show 2019. We're in the nice suite at the Venetian with Alan Gottlieb of the Second Amendment Foundation. Alan's going to tell us a little bit about the work that his group is doing, some of the litigation that's currently going on. There's a lot happening. Today was a big day for Second Amendment litigation. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the Second Amendment Foundation and where you guys are at right now with everything that's going on in the courts?
Well, we started back in 1974, so we've been around a long time now. And of course, we're most known for our litigation. About 80% plus of the case law supporting Second Amendment rights was won by the Second Amendment Foundation and/or our attorneys. So we're really at the tip of the spear when it comes to litigation. Right now, we have a record 37 cases we're involved in as of today with the new case we filed today.
Yeah, and you were telling me before that you were concerned that might not have been the case had 2016 gone differently. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation started out being really more of an educational foundation, doing educational projects, research, publishing, and then we got into the legal field, and we're very successful, and we're very excited about our legal action program defending Second Amendment rights in the courts. You know, our attorney Alan Gore did the Heller case. Right. The Second Amendment Foundation filed the McDonald versus Chicago case. We have a lot under our belt. And if Hillary Clinton would have got elected president, the Supreme Court would have had a wholly different complexion than it does right now. There were a record number of vacancies on the appeals courts and lower, federal court benches. They would have been stacked with anti-gun rights judges. We were looking at we're going to have to shut down our legal action program for a while because we couldn't risk setting bad precedents. And then Donald Trump got elected. The Supreme Court has a whole different complexion to it. An awful lot of the vacancies have been filled on the lower courts with judges that look like they're going to support Second Amendment rights. And lo and behold, we now have 37 cases going on at the same time.
And that's the most you've ever had in your history at the same time?
Well, not only the most we've ever had in our history at the same time, but it's about equal to the number of cases we had up in total up until the last few years.
Really?
The anti-gunners said that when we won McDonald Supreme Court, that if the court ruled our way, it would open the floodgates for Second Amendment litigation. It's one area where the anti-gunners were right.
Okay. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about that litigation and the Supreme Court? Because today there was some fairly big breaking news. The Supreme Court has granted cert in a gun case, right? In a case involving New York's the gun laws in New York and New York City. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know you guys didn't bring the case, but you plan to file an amicus brief in support of the plaintiffs, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. New York City has this crazy law. First of all, in New York, to have a gun in your own home, you have to have a permit. Part of the law of having that permit is you're not allowed to transport the gun except unloaded in a locked box and only to gun ranges to practice in New York City.
So nowhere, even like if you wanted to go out to take your gun that you legally own.
On Long Island to shoot at a range there. Or if you wanted to go upstate to compete in a shooting match.
You couldn't
or if you have a second home, in Westchester County, or for that matter, it might be in Florida where you vacation, where you live in the winter months to get out of the cold in New York. You legally couldn't transport. It's a ban on transport, basically. Wow. You couldn't transport your firearm legally. You'd lose your permit to have the gun in your home, and you could get arrested. The New York State Rifle and Pistol Association brought this lawsuit. It's a very good lawsuit. The lower court judge ruled against them, the appeals court ruled against them, and the U.S. Supreme Court decided to hear it. Now, I don't believe the Supreme Court would choose to hear this case if they were going to affirm the lower court decision. I believe they have the votes, and they're looking at this law as being unconstitutional.
Okay.
So I'm kind of excited about it, and it impacts, of course, the Second Amendment Foundation, because we have a couple other cases with cert petitions before the Supreme Court right now.
So what does that mean for you, that now that they've taken this case, what does that do for your cases?
It means that I think they're not going to reject our cases no matter what. They're either going to hold our cases till they rule on this one, and then still give us a chance to have them heard, or it means they're going to have the gun day at the Supreme Court and hear all the gun cases in one day.
Really?
Our cases aren't up for the conferences that the Supreme Court has yet to decide if they're going to hear our cases yet, because one of the cases, example, Pena in California, which deals with their handgun roster and micro-stamping, or handguns can't be sold there.
Right, micro-stamping is a sort of theoretical technology that doesn't
really exist.
But is required in California.
So basically what it means is no new handguns can be sold in California.
Yeah.
If an older handgun is upgraded with new safety features, it can't be sold there either.
Right.
So the state of California asked for more time to respond. So it's going to push our date back for the court to have the conference on the case.
Okay.
So it's a good chance now what will happen is that ours will be pushed back and not dismissed, or they'll be taken up to be heard the same time. So it depends on timing now, but either way, I think it's a good for all of our Second Amendment cases before the court. And what it really does, Stephen, is it shows this is the first time in a lot of years the Supreme Court decided to hear another gun case.
Yeah.
It means that the Supreme Court is back in business of hearing gun cases.
Because there was a lot of consternation about this, right? After McDonald, there hasn't been much from the Supreme Court in terms of Second Amendment litigation, right? And you even had justices like Thomas and Gorsuch who've written dissents saying that we should take cases, but they hadn't until now. So it's a big deal, right?
It's a really big deal, and it shows why Donald Trump's election was very important for gun rights, because now we have a court that's tipping more in the favor of looking at gun rights, making sure our Second Amendment rights are protected.
Okay. And besides what's going on with the Supreme Court, which is obviously very important, you guys also have, like you said, 37 cases, but one of them is a case dealing with foster parents in Missouri, right? Where they're essentially, if you want to be a foster parent, you more or less have to give up your gun rights within your own home. You can still have guns, but you have to keep them stored, unloaded, and locked away. Is that correct?
Correct. So you can't have a functional firearm in your home for self-protection. Now, if you have regular children in your home, they're your children, you can. But if you take a foster child in with your family, then you can't.
Right.
And you shouldn't have to lose your Second Amendment rights just because you want to help a child and raise them as a foster parent. It doesn't make any sense at all. We have similar cases, by the way, filed in Illinois and in Michigan. We had one filed in Oklahoma, but before the judge could rule, the state changed the law so that we basically won without the court decision. But we forced the state of Oklahoma's hand.
So this is a common problem that you guys are dealing with through litigation across several states.
Yeah. Foster parents, daycare center. If you want to do daycare in your home, in a number of states you can't do licensed daycare in your home if you own a gun.
Okay. And then you also have another case that you just filed today, correct?
Today, yes.
In California?
In California. In California, a number of years ago, a case was won by one of our attorneys, Don Kilmer, known as Nordyke, which stopped a ban in Northern California of gun shows on public property. Now we have in Southern California, near San Diego, Del Mar Fairgrounds Board voted 8-1 to ban gun shows. And the Ventura County Fairgrounds is looking to do the same thing later this week or next week. And so we filed suit in the federal court against Del Mar that they can't say you can't have a gun show on public property. Guns are legal. There's a Second Amendment right. We have a First Amendment rights of association and to do business. We believe we're going to win in this one as well. So we have a case filed today. But part of this is the anti-gunners are looking at stopping anything to do with guns. And the anti-gun group, both in California and nationally, lobbied the Del Mar Fairgrounds Board to do this, and put a lot of pressure on them. And what we know what they're trying to do is not just do this in California, but take it nationwide. So this is a cutting-edge suit to stop this from spreading as well.
Okay, interesting. Well, I just want to go back to the Supreme Court for just a second because it's so important. Then accepting a gun case is really something that hasn't happened in, it's been like a decade now, hasn't it? Something like that?
I think I've read it 9 years.
Yeah.
Years go so fast I can't keep track. But it's been a long time. We have brought a lot of cases that had a lot of merit into the Supreme Court that they've chosen not to hear. And because they've chosen not to hear these cases, what it's done is, like the Ninth Circuit, the judges tend to thumb their nose now at the Heller and McDonald decisions from the Supreme Court because they can get away with it. If you're not going to hear a case, well, we don't have to abide by McDonald and Heller. And that's what's been happening. So this is really important. It signals to judges on the lower courts now, you have to pay more attention to the Second Amendment and respect it more.
Do you think that's going to be the outcome of this case? Do you think that they're likely to rule on the Second Amendment aspects of this, or perhaps on a different constitutional aspect?
They could throw out the law on other reasons in the Second Amendment as well. But I think that they took the case as a gun case, and I'm hoping, and I can't. You never know.
Read their minds,
I can't read their minds, but my guess is that they want to do a gun case.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us and give us the update of what's going on in the courts regarding gun rights. And we look forward to keeping up with everything that you guys are doing and reporting out to you guys what's going on as well. And we're hoping you have a good SHOT Show here, and we're going to have more to bring to you guys in the next day or two, because it's still, this goes on for quite a while. It's very big, very long, and just everything in the gun world is here all at once. So we're going to do our best to give you as much of it as we can. So we thank you for giving us an update on what's going on.
My
legally.
pleasure.